time is it? Oh shit, nobody's showing up. That's kind of nobody shows up. It is Saturday, isn't it? Yeah, it's Saturday. Yesterday was Friday. Oh, hello, friends. I'm gonna emit Luis del Pino. Hurry. Oh, what happened? Hello, friend, enemy, kind mother. Luis del Pino.
Mommy, how are you?
Great. You should use Bluetooth for the sound.
How's life in the fast lane, my friend?
Is there an echo?
Nope.
Oh,
All is good. All systems nominal.
Great. Ah, there's 3 of us now.
All right.
Jairo,
More the merrier. Let me
Jairo,
set this up.
Jairo on my phone, Jairo on my computer, and there's Luis.
Jairo here, Jairo there, Jairo everywhere.
So how are you, Luis?
Doing great. Very busy week, a lot of work, a lot of fires, a lot of putting out fires.
Putting up
It
fire.
was, it flew by. It flew by. But here I am enjoying my second coffee of the morning. I already had a Zoom meeting with a gentleman that I just met on LinkedIn. His name is Roberto. He is truly a thinker. And of course, we have spanned the universe, the whole of reality in 55 minutes.
Wow. That was a one-on-one meeting
Yeah, yeah.
with Roberto.
Yeah, I think he's writing something. He had a couple of ideas about the concept of love, this and that, and we met through LinkedIn. He was interested in a
And
couple
then
of things that I wrote and
decided to have a Zoom meeting.
investigate. Yeah, he decided to investigate my madness and say, "What are you talking about?"
Your madness?
Mhm.
What is your madness?
Yes, when I say that, you know, this
One is 0,
consciousness.
and 0 is
When I
1.
say yes, when I say stuff like that, they go like, "Okay, let's see what
That's,
this mad guy has to say."
that's what scared what's his name? The guy that had a fiance has a fiance from Thailand, but she's still there. He said, "I'm tired of of this of listening to this 0 is 1 and 1 is 0."
What it is? It is.
What does that mean? Is that like form is empty and emptiness is form?
Yes.
None other,
Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. It's
or
just
is it
it's saying the same thing. It's saying the same thing because
form?
emptiness is 0, right? Nothing there. 0, the void, and then form is anything but 0. You can take the form of a 1. Of course, that 1 can represent not just a 1. It just represents the string, the vibration of 0 into non-zero, because that's what a 1 in this sense is. zero vibrating into one. And that vibration is the one. The very vibration of zero is one. Anyway, let's not go there, or we will not have anybody to talk to us. So let's talk about something different.
Here then, form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness is no other than form. That's one translation.
Yeah.
I was just looking to see if it how it's translated. If its form is emptiness, or is it form is empty? Form is
See,
emptiness.
not understanding that zero is one and one is zero
Oh, because
comes from the fact
the
we
word empty is doesn't mean much, but emptiness means a lot. Because
okay,
I can have a cup that is empty, but
but
emptiness.
emptiness, it takes on psychological reverberations. But the so the feeling, so emptiness is the feeling of empty, you know. In any case, anicca, which is the first characteristic, the first seal, is the perfect description of the zero turning into one, the one turning into zero. Because if you say zero is not one, and one is not zero, zero is zero, and that doesn't change, you're already breaking that first universal observation. It's a fact that everything changes all the time, even zero. Because if zero didn't change,
what do you mean by zero?
empty space,
Oh,
the vacuum state.
but zero means is a placeholder. We could ask Mike, the mathematician, what is zero?
Excellent, excellent.
What is empty?
Let's get.
What is zero versus what is one?
Let's get the skinny on this. Very good. Is Mike here?
Yes.
Good morning, Mike.
Morning.
How are you on this beautiful Saturday morning?
Well, so far as I can tell, nothing has dropped off recently, which means either I am in good shape or my glasses need change.
Are you talking about the shoe dropping off? The other shoe dropping off? Well, we were doing great, doing wonderful. Thank you. We were just talking about the idea that zero is one and one is zero. I always mention this in whimsical conversations that I have about the nature of reality. And when I say that, of course, I'm pointing towards the quantum nature of the reality, where you look into the very, 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 very tiny. All of a sudden, the normal physics, the classical physics, don't apply, and all of a sudden you have a photon that can go through two places at the same time, two slits at the same time, but only if you don't look. But if you look, then it has to make up its mind and go, okay, I'm not gonna reveal my weird nature. And so if you look, I'm going to go through one slot. But if you don't look, I'm going to go through both at the same time. So in that nature, the quantum nature, I typically say that zero is one and one is zero. And then I have to explain that zero is zero only for a very tiny moment, because 0 Kelvin, where there is nothing, no energy whatsoever, is only 0 Kelvin for a very, very tiny quantum time in a very tiny quantum space, and then energy comes out of nothing. The 0 becomes other than 0, a very tiny amount of energy, a Planck energy.
Then 0 is something other than 1, because if it's there for a tiny moment, that 0 is not 1. So there's a distinction between 0 and 1. So you can't say that 0 is 1 and 1 is 0. You're saying that it's 0 for a tiny moment, then it becomes 1.
That's right.
And 1 stay 1.
Well, and that's the problem.
Is it there for a tiny moment and it goes back to 0? So it's going back and forth.
And the problem in quantum mechanics is that it says that it's both at the same time, 0 and 1, because it's so close in time and space that in reality, that's the quantum nature of reality. So maybe I'm saying something very wrong. So let's ask you, Mike. Have you even delved into this? Maybe quantum mechanics is not your cup of coffee. And in mathematics, we cannot really say
it's mathematics.
Yeah, in mathematics, it's probably not right to say that 0 is 1 and 1 is 0.
Know what 0 versus 1 is, and they cannot ever be the same thing.
Right. So, what do you say about that, our dear mathematician?
Well, I'm scarcely an expert on quantum mechanics, but it does seem to me that you are jumping back and forth between two different settings, quantum mechanics and mathematics, and there is a tendency to blend or confuse the settings. And in mathematics, if you're talking about 0 and 1, you can say, if you want, this is something that we have constructed, this collection of natural numbers, and in our construction, 0 and 1 are different.
Yes.
Or you can say we have perceived this reality, platonic reality, and in that platonic reality, 0 and 1 are clearly different. When
Understood.
You're talking about the quantum mechanics, it seems to me what you're doing is you're talking about we're making measurements, we're asking questions, we're asking about energies or temperatures of things that we measure. And there is something funny about the way that we get answers, about the structure of how answers to questions pop up in this setting. And sometimes you have answers pop up which look as though they ought to be contradictory, but somehow or other, due to the apparatus of asking and answering questions, you can avoid getting to a point where they're useless, and you can get stuff from them, which is worthwhile. So
that's beautiful, Mike. Thank you very much. That's exactly the case, that in order, what I'm trying to do here precisely is to be conciliant, so jump from the two different horse saddles, and to combine two things that apparently are contradictory, but in essence are coherent. They make sense. But from the conventional view, from the classical view, don't make any sense. But from the non-dualistic view, let's put it that way, do make sense. And I then try to take those two views that appear contradictory, but they are coherent, they are harmonic, and then I construct a practical life at the human level. This all that I do when I talk in Zoom, when I'm working, when I'm living my life, is trying to build yoga, yoke, and I'm trying to have reality see itself properly through this consciousness here. A complete understanding, a complete experience. And it has to take in consideration these two views, the conventional view, the classical physics, where 0 is 0 and 1 is 1, because that's the way we designate it, we construct it. And but the other view, where in reality, 0 and 1 are aspects of the same thing, which is undescribable. There is no construction for it. It is transcendent of any idea, thought, consideration, etc., etc. It's beyond mind, beyond even describing. It's ineffable and indescribable. And that's what I try to do. That's why I use expressions like this to say 0 is 1, 1 is 0, which sounds to people like, what are you talking about? No, 0 is 0, 1 is 1. It's because I go beyond, or I see through the very idea of 0 and the very idea of 1. And when I talk about 0 and 1, I'm talking about the two aspects of reality, which are the phenomenal aspect, phenomenal quality of reality, and the non-phenomenal aspect of reality, which is the 0, absolute nothing, no phenomenal anything to look at. The combination of both is what makes things look like a movie. And if 0 stayed 0 and 1 stayed 1, there would be no change, and reality would be like a picture instead of like a movie. That's the way I look at things. It may not make any sense, but
well, of course, when you're dealing with quantum mechanics, you are not necessarily dealing directly with reality. You are dealing with a description of reality.
Yep. Yep.
And it is a description which is put together in such a way that it works consistently, but it works in a way that when we try to interpret it in terms of our everyday experience,
Yep.
it does not jibe with the way that things normally work.
That's right. That's right. And therein lies the problem. The nature of reality is somehow indescribable in the sense of conventional reality, the way we look at things, the way we construct it. So there is reality in and of itself, and then what is said about it, what is thought about it, what is perceived about it is an incomplete description of the whole, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I try to tie those two ideas for a happy life. All I'm trying to do constantly is to seek ataraxia, peace of mind, while reality looks at itself through this consciousness. That's all my exercise. I just want to be happy. And of course, it has a lot of ramifications, because you cannot be happy and nasty at the same time. So it brings in a lot of ethical and aesthetic qualities to this kind of thinking, this unification of the whole, this when I talk to you, I'm not talking to some entity different from this one. I'm talking to myself. I see this conversation as reality seeing itself through two consciousnesses, in this case, three consciousnesses. And so I completely destroy the idea of a me versus you. I mean, everything changes in this way of thinking. That's the whole exercise of my mind.
What do you mean by reality seeing itself? How can that be? Isn't reality just phenomena this phenomenon is phenomena, does phenomena have a mind? Like reality, isn't that just what appears to our mind? Because we're not able to perceive reality for real. We're just getting inputs through our six senses. That includes the mind. So, and we're then processing that and coming up with a perception, and then labeling things. So that's a reality, is just phenomena, is just
Yes.
dharma with a
Yes.
lowercase
Yes.
d.
Yes. So
So
basically,
you can't say that all this stuff is able to see itself. Why would it want to do that?
the way I propose this is that there is one reality, which I always say is eternal and infinite. There's no in or out of it. And
Mike proposes that there's many realities. Why isn't that valid?
Yeah, it's
how can you prove
too.
that there's only one reality?
For example, if we say that you are reality, right? And Mike is a reality, and I am a reality. So we're three realities, but there's something that contains this all three. So there's a reality that contains the three realities of Mike, Jairo, and Lewis. And then you can apply that to any subsets.
In mathematics, that would be called a set theory, right?
Oh, there's a fourth reality there.
You have
there's
sets.
A cat. What's the cat's name?
You have your reality. That's that's the set reality of Luis. That's set 1, and there's Mike reality. That's set 2, and my reality is set 3. And you can consider them subsets of the superset, the universal reality.
Yeah, and if
so
we take
throw them in, these
yes.
subsets into the bigger set.
That's right. That's right. So when I talk about reality, the one reality, I'm putting all the subsets of all sub-realities, just like when they talk about the bulk and the slices of multiverses.
That superset, or that universal set, you're saying that that universal set is able to see itself. So that means that universal set has a mind of its own, an awareness.
Well, it's a organismic. In this case, it's organismic process.
That could be possible. That it could have a consciousness.
Well, it could have a consciousness of its own.
It's an emergent property of all these subsets.
Yes.
All the sub-realities.
We could
form a consciousness that is able to see itself.
Yes, and we could talk about that, but we could hypothesize about that. But all I'm interested is your consciousness, Mike's consciousness, his cat's consciousness, and my consciousness. Very close to our the way we consciousnesses see reality. What's your cat's name, by the way, Mike?
Spritzer.
Spritzer.
Yes.
So it's not Schrodinger's.
No.
Not Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat is both around here and not around here.
That's like being both 0 and 1.
Now we're talking about the same thing. So basically,
by the way, the cat has expressed its own philosophy to me.
Really?
I purr, therefore I am.
Yes. Yes, it's just a very acceptable philosophy.
Yes.
As long as he knows that he's purring, because what I contend is that human consciousness is special in the fact that it's a knowing that knows that it's knowing. It just doesn't know. It just doesn't simply know, but it knows that it is in the process of knowing. So it's like somebody looking at oneself in the mirror and putting a mirror behind. And then you see yourself a possible infinity of times if there was no distortion. But basically, that is the human mind. The human consciousness has this self-reflective power that's like a loop that reloops around. It's a knowledge that knows it is knowing. And that's what makes it special. Now, I don't know if mosquitoes have that power of abstraction and subtlety, I can talk to them. So I really do not try to delve into that, but I do talk to other human beings that have a consciousness very similar to mine. And I try to spar ideas in trying to build my own, because I didn't come up with all this by myself. I am riding on the shoulders of giants. All of us are.
Where
all
did
the
you come up with that about putting a mirror in front of you and a mirror behind you, and you get lots of views? Well,
I saw that.
Is
I've
that
seen
a
that.
metaphor? What is that a metaphor for?
It is.
Or do we do that with our consciousness?
We do that with our consciousness when we think about our thoughts. Who's thinking the thoughts? And you can take that back all the way to infinity, and you can say that it is reality.
Don't we just
the whole
don't we
reality
just need one mirror to look at our thoughts with one mirror? Why do we need a mirror behind us to see the same thoughts thousands or millions of times?
Yeah. If you see yourself in a mirror, it's the regular consciousness of animals. They see themselves in the mirror. But you have to put another mirror behind you to be able to say,
so that's the difference
who is this looking at
man and
that
animals?
One?
Is that
animals
I believe
so.
have one mirror and humans have a mirror behind them, so they're able to see
I don't know about animals much, but I propose that
thinking.
The specialty of the human consciousness is precisely that. It's supposed to question itself. So the consciousness questions the consciousness. It's like meta, the power of meta thinking, being able to think outside of your own mind, thinking outside the box. That's what I propose. That's the beauty of the human mind, to be able to look at itself thinking, or look at itself looking.
Could there be humans that don't do that?
Many. Most.
And are they happier or less happy?
Are they less human?
That is zombies? A question. That is a question that each mind has to answer for itself. I was just talking to this gentleman, Roberto, in Spain, and I told him I am truly happy. And he looked at me, and I said, beware, because my definition of happy is not the regular definition of happy.
Is it ataraxia or eudaimonia? What is the difference between the two?
Ataraxia is a mind that does not suffer. It's like dukkha nirodha in the sutras of the Buddha. Dukkha nirodha, the cessation of suffering, the cessation of mental agitation. In Patanjali, he talks about chitta vritti nirodha. The vritti nirodha is the cessation of the mental whirlpool. The washing machine that's sloshing constantly. Dukkha nirodha or vritti nirodha is when the washing machine stops, and there is no more twirling and more agitation of the psychic processes. In other words, for example, when you have electricity going from one point A to point B through an element or something, when that element becomes superconductor, there is no loss of energy. From point A to point B, if you send X energy on one side, it goes and you have X energy on the other side. So it defies a little bit the laws of nature. But ataraxia, the complete mental peace, is reality looking at itself through a superconductive consciousness.
Ataraxia sounds like no thinking. So wouldn't that be dangerous for conventional living?
I propose that thinking is the ladder to get over the wall. And once you get over the wall, the ladder is not applicable. You don't use it anymore. So in a sense, you cannot get over the wall without the ladder. So you need thinking in order to stop thinking. And stop thinking in the sense of that agitation of the mind. You can, let's put it this way, in other terms, if the mind is a washing machine, once the cycle is done and everything is clean, everything is good, the machine stops and the water stops to
Well,
be agitated.
isn't it
So it's
sufficient
not
that
about
we
not
die?
thinking, it's thinking without agitation.
Isn't
I
it
would think of it.
sufficient that we die or kill ourselves and that we stop thinking? Or we go into a coma.
Yeah,
Perhaps
well,
there's no thinking when we're in a
yeah,
coma.
that subset of reality, which is Jairo, eventually will fall apart. Yes. And when the body mind falls apart, the consciousness ceases to,
Or
just
is
like a
it
light bulb.
possible to live without thinking? Live adequately without thinking. Or maybe not thinking, but not having what they call discursive thoughts. Like
You
you're
can't,
talking to yourself.
you're
Is it
talking about
possible to go
lobotomy?
around?
Are you talking
Is
about
it possible?
lobotomy?
No, is it possible to function without having your in your mind you talking to yourself? Like you have two separate
Yeah. Are
minds,
the thoughts
and
what bothers you, or
somebody.
what you feel about your thoughts that bothers you? Lobotomy is a good example of thinking without suffering.
Now, if you have
You
a
can
lobotomy,
still, yeah,
then
you
you
can still,
stop suffering.
yeah. That lobotomy is taking the back mirror, and then you just look at life like a rat would look at life. You just go on, but you're not thinking about thinking. The meta thought is gone in lobotomy. You still think, you still take you function like a regular human being, but you don't question yourself. You don't question anything. You just are. In a sense, lobotomy
Is
is
there a certain
reality.
area that they
Yeah,
take out?
yeah,
A certain area that they take out that they say that's the part that
yeah.
is safe to take out?
That's the emotional part that's taken out. I would suspect the meta thinking. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about that, but when they describe the lobotomized individual, they don't seem to suffer or enjoy or anything. They're just like robots. They just go through life. They have
Zombie?
breakfast, and dead but alive at the same time.
What's the
In
definition
psychic terms,
of a zombie? Like, is it possible to create a zombie, like a what is it? Android, like a machine that looks just like us, and but is a zombie, as in it doesn't supposedly doesn't have consciousness, but is able to fool us into thinking that that person is a human being.
that's the majority of human
Turing,
beings are like
the
zombies.
Turing test, like create a machine that will fool anybody into thinking that that's a human, so that
Yeah,
passes the Turing test.
yeah,
But for a human, I mean, to pass it, that to make people believe that that's a human, but it's just a machine. And supposedly, if you create a machine, however you create it, it doesn't have, it shouldn't have consciousness unless there's a way to create artificial consciousness. Is there a way to because supposedly the idea is that consciousness is an emergent property of neural networks. So couldn't you have an emergent property of computer networks? Uh, yeah, the bits of have it so more and more complicated that out of it evolves a consciousness, so that robot is actually has everything, like can perceive through its senses and can process it and can generate uh
yeah.
ideas of
Those
those
are all
things
good
and
questions.
emotions.
Yeah, but instead of trying to recreate the human consciousness, I just study this one. It's already made. So I'd rather study this consciousness rather than to try to recreate a human
If
consciousness. Because at the end of the day, what is a human consciousness? What is it to be human? You know, do you have to think a certain way? Do you have to have, deep thoughts, or is it okay to go through life and pay bills and then die? I mean, truly, is being human, just like being autistic. We're all in the spectrum. And is the spectrum from 0 to 100, where like 2 would be an amoeba, 5 a mosquito, 15 I don't know, a fish, 25 this, and then an ape would be 75, and then we are 80, and then from 80 to 100, what is it? What kind of a thinking animal do you have to be at 100? Is that the enlightened, humanistic, you know? So you're asking questions that are very interesting, but to me, since I only have this consciousness that I can really delve into and analyze very, very, very deeply, using other consciousnesses to kind of as sounding boards.
What if we are all zombies and don't have consciousness, and we're fooling you into thinking that we do?
It's possible, but you have to
But
define
then
zombie.
that way you would be the only reality in the universe.
And that's why the Greeks said it very well. Know yourself. Once you know yourself, you're able to truly understand yourself, and then in understanding yourself, you understand others, obviously, because there's no filter anymore. You really understand what's going on. You understand human nature. You understand the way
Where
the
is
human mind
David
works.
Norton when we need him? He would say, I disagree. I think that there is that you can't know yourself. You can know your body, you can know your brain, but can you know yourself? Because you're when you try to find it,
Yeah,
it moves
that's right.
somewhere else,
That's right.
or
That's
it
right. That's right.
changes.
That's right.
It
So
changes to
you're
another form.
if you know reality as a whole, then you know yourself, because that is yourself. I contend that this consciousness is an organismic process through which reality looks at itself with a certain degree of accuracy or clarity. So
There you go again, reality looking at itself.
yeah,
How can reality have consciousness?
it does. That's me. Consciousness are us, just like toys are us.
Okay.
So if you want to know reality, all you have to do is look at your consciousness. And if you are able to really, really, really know this consciousness, you know reality, because you are the consciousness of reality. See, I contend that this coherence, this true coherence of thinking and feeling and living and understanding, is precisely to make this funnel of consciousness as clear and undistracting as possible. So reality can look at itself without the bias of ego, anger, ignorance, insecurities, culpability, uh, uh, impulsivity, etc., etc.
What do you think, Michael? Isn't that a a load of something else?
Oh shit!
To what do you wish me to respond? To which stand or point of view are you asking my response?
To what do I wish you to respond? To yes, first of all, do you agree with, or do you understand what Luis has said, that reality is just wanting to look at itself? Why would it want it to look at itself?
I didn't
Or
say it wants
perhaps,
to. I
or
didn't say it wants to.
it, or how does reality look at itself? Is it looking at itself through us? It's using us? What is reality? The whole universe, or just what we perceive?
Well, it seems to me before I can give much of a response to that question, I have to have some idea of what's meant by reality, which is certainly a very obscure concept, except
Let's
in
look it
certain
up.
settings. Okay. Uh, I heard Luis talking about consciousness, in some sense, looking at itself and being aware of itself. And I certainly know that there is a great deal of my consciousness which is passed and in a very satisfactory manner when I am not necessarily aware of myself, but I am instead intensely concentrated on something other than myself. Some idea in mathematics, some story I'm working on, something other than myself. So I'm not sure how important it is that consciousness be aware of itself. On the other hand, I find that I am constantly stopping to examine the thoughts that go through my head. And I have a tendency when thoughts pop up in my head, opinions, likes, dislikes, to look at them and judge them and treat them as though they are phenomena which are occurring to me, somewhat in the sense that weather occurs. And I often find I have thoughts coming through my head with which I do not agree. Now, notice there's some sort of strange duality which is going on there. For example, I may be in a situation in which I may suddenly have the thought pop into my head, oh, you are brilliant. You just did so and so, which is so marvelous. And there is a part of me, the more important part, which will say, wait a minute. I
Up
am
so fast.
myself up. I'm not at all sure that judgment is justified. So clearly something quite complex is going on in terms of who I am. Again, I is this very difficult, obscure concept to me, although I'm quite willing to admit at different times to being a certain person whose name is on a driver's license or on a check, or a certain person who is complaining about this or complaining about that, etc. But I, so far as I can tell, the I is a very slippery thing. So that's a partial response, I think, to your question. And I'm not sure it's an answer, it's simply a response. So there it is for whatever it's worth.
What do you think, Luis?
Well, I have taken those very same thoughts and considerations that Mike just expressed to the very end of that double mirror. I took it
So you
all the way
have
out there.
gone to the metaphysical or what is it?
Yeah.
Para? No.
I don't know. I just
beyond?
took that. See, because
Gate.
yes, Mike says, that my head and me, and there are thoughts that are phenomenal that pop in, and I agree or disagree with them. So what I try to precisely determine is the I. And I have come to the conclusion that the I is not personal. The I is not an entity separate for the rest of the universe. It is the whole. And the thoughts, the phenomena, the I is the non-phenomenal side of the whole, and the thoughts are the phenomenal side of it. So the yin yang would be, the white would be the thoughts, the phenomena, and the black would be the I. Of course, you cannot describe the I because it's not phenomenal. But the problem that we have is making a distinction between the phenomenal and the non-phenomenal. And this was one of my great moments, I must say, and I'm going to go with it no matter what anybody says about it. I was asking myself,
What
what
if
is,
David Norton proves you wrong?
well, this is his opinion. This is just my opinion. I always tell him that because he says, well, that's your view. And I said, yes, that's my view. I'm just sharing it, but I don't say I'm right.
Or
I mean,
what if science proves you wrong?
I don't care. It's just my science. This is my science. So this is not a contest with anybody. It's a contest with myself. But a great moment in my life was the realization. I remember it as if it was yesterday. I was driving to work. The sun was in my eyes. I was going east on 50. It's not a very glorified road, but to me, I'll never forget that moment. And I had been dealing with the question, what is the difference between nirvana and samsara? I mean, at that time, I was heavily studying the Buddhist worldview of reality and the Four Noble Truths and the three characteristics and all that. But in any case, I was trying to see what's the deal. You know, I'm looking for nirvana. I'm looking for ataraxia. I'm looking for happiness. And they tell me that form is emptiness, emptiness and form. It's the same thing as saying that the phenomenal and the non-phenomenal are the same thing. But yet I saw, you know, in very scientific ways that, yeah, the phenomenal, I can see the phenomenal. I can see this mind. But what is that sees this mind? I came to the conclusion that the phenomenal aspect of reality, although it appears distinct from the non-phenomenal side of reality, which doesn't appear at all, that's the big distinction. The non-phenomenal side of reality, you cannot measure it, you cannot see it, you can't do anything about it. I came to the conclusion that reality is both those things. It has, it enfolds the phenomenal and the non-phenomenal. And when I read David Bohm, the physicist that was very, very big in the 70s or 80s, who wrote about the implicate order or the holographic reality, I understood exactly what it was saying. The non-phenomenal side of reality is that part of the hologram of the picture. The non-phenomenal side of the reality is what is seen in the picture, which is the phenomenal side. And that picture, no matter what you look at, contains the same whole picture of reality. The whole picture of reality is non-phenomenal. It's ineffable, indescribable. It's the I that is so obscure to us. And the picture, the holographic picture we can touch, feel, and measure and look at is the phenomenal side of reality. And it takes an infinite array of colors, forms, shapes, energies, processes, sub-processes, etc., etc. So that is my contention. This is my proposal, that the I is the non-phenomenal side of reality, nibbana, whatever they call it, buddhi, and then the thoughts, the feelings, the ideas, the creativity, the things, the coffee cup, the car, and the driver's license are the phenomenal side of reality. And when a mind sees that interplay in everything, it has an, you know, reality sees itself properly.
What? Did you get that, Michael? Can you paraphrase that in 3 sentences?
That's unfair. I spoke for 30
Only
minutes.
if you speak Klingon. That's
my view. I don't know, Mike.
It sounded
truly,
like
if it makes any sense.
It sounded like you said that they're the same, or could it be that they're just the same, but different sides of the coin?
Yes, that's exactly that. That two differentiated, distinct appearances. One of them is no appearance at all. The other one is any appearance. And the conjunction of both is the I, the whole of reality. And that's why I'm able to say that reality is eternal and infinite, because even if I got to the limits of reality and I saw nothing, well, that's the non-phenomenal side of reality. So I'm still looking at reality, but I just don't see no phenomena. And because I know, because the quantum mechanics tells me clearly that even when I'm looking at the darkest black of nothing, there's still energy popping out of it, because that's the nature of reality. That the black nothing only is that for a very tiny amount of time in a very tiny amount of space, which is at the Planck scale. And sooner or later, actually very sooner, because it happens every, constantly, energy. That means that the non-phenomenal side of reality vibrates into what they now call a string.
Ah,
And depending on
got
the
it.
energy, the frequency and energy of that string, then you can call it a neutrino, a proton,
You're suggesting what this Indian guy and what this other guy says in a TED talk. I wish I could bring it up, but maybe I got the book.
Of course, I will add that the I is very mysterious because it is everything and nothing at the same time. So it's very difficult to put your finger on it. So whereas the thoughts, we can kind of see them, analyze them, agree with them, disagree with them, etc., etc. The I from which those thoughts arise, which is the whole shebang wanga, and specifically the non-phenomenal side of it, the reality, is always going to be inexpressible, ineffable to us. And it makes sense because a tooth cannot bite itself. So it is clear that reality is not going to realize itself fully. It can only, feel itself, but, not be itself if it is through only its phenomenal side. So it takes a very whimsical kind of abstract approach to defining reality and understanding it and experiencing it properly, because we can talk about this, but if it doesn't affect my behavior, my intentions, my very thoughts, and that's where when I heard about the plasticity at the neurological level, the neuroplasticity, that was a great moment for me, because actually what it's saying is that this brain is plastic. So the thoughts that arise and the process of the thoughts changes what other thoughts are coming up. And that was the key to unlock the very idea of enlightenment. How can you enlighten yourself if your mind cannot change, if your brain cannot change the way it thinks?
But who is doing that?
Reality.
That change. That
reality.
The noumenal side is the
reality is doing that, but
mean,
it doesn't know it's doing it, because reality, again, needs the phenomenal side to think, but reality is both phenomenal and non-phenomenal. So this consciousness thinks, reality thinks through this, but it doesn't know ultimately that it's thinking. So unless this consciousness identifies itself with the whole, then this consciousness is always having an identity problem. We don't understand who we are or what we are.
So when Mike is hearing this phenomenal talking, thoughts popping up, and then he's listening to it, is the listener and the judger the non-phenomenal, and the thoughts popping up, is that the phenomenal So he's coming to listen to it, and he says, where are these thoughts coming from, and why does it make no sense at all?
Yeah.
Is
If
that
reality,
is that the observer, is that the non-phenomenal, and the thoughts popping up the phenomenal?
Again, you have to see the interplay of both, because if there was no two sides, two aspects of reality, one phenomenal and one non-phenomenal, there would be no change. In order for something to change, something has to cease being what it is, and then be nothing, and then change into something different. So you have to die. Something that is a phenomenon to change has to cease being and then become something else. The very idea of change explains how reality looks like a picture and not like a static picture. And of course, thoughts, that's the best place to see how things pop out of nothing. Why? Because they had to pop out, of being in order to change. If not, our thoughts would be constant. There would be no change. It would be always the same thing.
Who is feeding us those thoughts? Is it a demon?
No one. No one. There is no one in reality. Anatta. There's no owner to anything. Reality has no owner. The mind has no owner. There is no owner. The whole thing is a big yin yang where things pop in and pop out. Per secula seculorum.
It's a con game.
No. Where is David Norton when we need him? He would say to conspiracy from the George Soros.
Guys, I may sound like I'm crazy. I can understand that. In a sense, I am atypical or abnormal. I'm not a normal thinking human being, obviously, because if not, this conversation would be more into the tune of other things that people talk about. The normal people talk about normal things. I am abnormal because I talk about abnormal concepts. When I say that I don't exist per se, that it's reality just happening, it is abnormal. In because many people think that this over here is an individual soul, an individual entity with its own little history, separate from the rest of the universe, that was created at inception by a master planner that also created the universe, and he had a good plan. He did it for a reason and all that. And then when I die, depending on what I do for the 70 or 80 years I'm going to live, if I get lucky, then I will go to one place or the other or something like that. That's the normal thinking. And there are variations of that. You can die and be reborn many, many times, and then you become better as you go, you become worse, or a whole bunch of normal thinking that that people think like that. But I don't think like that. I think abnormally. But it works for me. That's all I have to say. It works for me.
Yeah, normal.
I am abnormal.
Michael? What do you think? Thinking abnormally, is that like thinking outside the box? Oh my gosh. God, finally Joel is here. He's gonna make sure to keep Luis Del Pino honest.
Grounded.
Joel, we need your help.
Welcome, Joel.
Good morning.
Joel.
Good morning. Good morning.
We need your help. We need you to keep Luis Del Pino honest. He's throwing things like dukkha on us again, and niroda, and he has Vritti niroda from the Patanjali.
Patanjali. Oh, but he's
throwing Sanskrit words at us again?
But has he finished his studies of Purim?
Of what?
Yes, I read on that. Thank you very much, Joe. Very interesting.
But doesn't Purim explain the Patanjalis?
In a sense, yes. In a sense, yes. They're trying to make sense of things through it's just kind of they gamify things. Actually, they converted it into a disguise thing, like Halloween. An interesting. It was very interesting to read about that and how the whole culture, the Jewish culture, made that into a pantomime of being able to escape the bad guy through luck, through the dice of life, and they made it into a game, and now they dress up like clowns and stuff, and they do all kinds of cultural things, Haman's ears or Haman's pockets. I mean, it was very interesting. I appreciated you throwing that at me. It's just another anthropological study of how cultures develop out of ideas and the human psychology.
What's it called again?
Purim.
How do you spell that?
But it's not an idea. It's a recorded history.
Well, yes, if it is, yes. Yes, it is recorded history. There was a Haman guy that wanted to hurt the certain people, and then there was a change in politics, and all of a sudden they didn't kill all those guys. So it was just a historical thing, and out of that, now we have a whole cultural event.
It starts February 25th and ends February 26th. It ended yesterday.
Yeah.
It's a Jewish festival commemorating the survival of the Jews who, in the 5th century before the Common Era,
it's an old one, and it comes
were marked for death by their Persian Iranian rulers. The story is related.
It's a heavy duty.
Related in the biblical book of Esther. It's heavy
well,
duty.
I can say I learned something new, so I appreciate that.
But for you, that's a big challenge, Luis, because you have a very structured life. That the times that you might be exposed to different things, at least this is my suspicion, would be rather limited.
On the contrary.
Well,
because of your infinite knowledge.
No, I don't have infinite knowledge, but I am very curious now. Precisely because now I know that this consciousness is reality is looking at itself through it. So I have a limited time.
Did you hear that, Joel? So reality is consciousness looking at itself. What did you say?
Joe, I'm constantly looking at stuff. If I don't know something, I'll immediately study it, research it, and try to make sense of it. Of course, I want to make sense of things. So to me, it was an interesting piece of history that became a cultural thing. And, you can look at it from all different ways: psychological, emotional, cultural, societal, anthropological, mythological, et cetera, et cetera. Very interesting piece of information. But throughout the day, everything that now I'm very mindful. So I'm constantly looking at things and researching and trying to understand the best I can. And yes, I do have a structured life, but that doesn't mean that it's rigid at the same time. So any opportunity for me to learn something new and understand better is happening almost every time.
I got to check my blood sugar. Now that you've told me that, I'll have to find out if it's gone up or down.
Are you having trouble with your glycemic index?
Yes, I am starting to get the big D.
Are you a pre-diabetic?
No, I'm
Not
there,
yet.
man.
Oh, you are diabetic already. So you are at the dangerous level. And what did your doctor say?
He's pretty chill. He says, you're just sort of barely there. And
the doctor should have told you the following.
Yes.
In the 70s, Dr. Ornish conducted a scientific study, and he recorded everything. And he demonstrated that one can cure oneself of diabetes, hypertension, lipidemia, which is high cholesterol, and all kinds of arterial problems with calcium deposits in our arteries and the rigidification of arteries by eating properly and exercising, without medications, without any intervention, surgical or therapeutic or what have you, just by eating properly, which means almost a vegan diet, reducing animal proteins, fats, and salts, and exercising properly, and of course not drinking or doing drugs. And he recorded all that scientifically, and he showed how deposits in your arteries dissolve and disappear naturally when you have this hygiene of life. And that's what a doctor should have told you, but no, he would rather give you some medications and see you every month or every 3 months.
So Dr. Ornish recommends mostly plant-based proteins if you can.
Yep, that means beans and greens, to be specific.
So that's why you went vegan.
Yeah.
Because you read about Dr. Ornish. I went vegetarian because an Indian guy, a meditation master, came to Orlando, to the area of Orlando where they have conventions, I guess, and in a big room, maybe it's in a hotel, a lot of people came to learn about this meditation, and he gave us an initiation and put his finger on our forehead, and he taught us a mantra. I forgot it, but
and that sounds like a Catholic. That sounds like a Catholic priest with the
when
oil
I tried
ointments.
that mantra, meditating,
the anointing.
When I tried that mantra, he said to keep track of the days that you do meditation and check if you see light or check if you hear music, like.
That's so
and so
scientific.
after a few days of doing that mantra, I did see a light. I thought it was I was I was meditating kind of half asleep, and I maybe I did that mantra a little bit, and then I thought I saw a beam of light hit me between the eyes, and I said, oh, it must be the street lamp outside that's coming through the window or something. And then I opened my eyes and there was no light, but I guess when I closed it, I didn't get that light back. So, but I did see like a beam of light in between the eyes. So it wasn't a light that was coming from external sources. It was a light that I guess hallucinatory light, a beam of light. It seemed kind of small but powerful. I don't know what. I haven't had that happen again. Well, maybe because I haven't practiced that mantra. I barely remember it.
Well, just you know what you need to do. Go ahead and practice.
You were just about to be waked up so that you would understand what Luis was saying.
Oh, if I had practiced it, then I would know what Luis was saying. And then he told us that we should, if we want to progress in our meditation practice, we should become vegetarian and eliminate egg products.
Wow, I have eggs almost every day.
The proof is in the pudding.
I guess eliminating meat products, it's supposed to reduce our karmic footprint.
Well, I don't know about that one, but there was a study called the China study. That was a big one. And the China study was another scientific study that proved that we should not have more than 7% animal well, let me rephrase this. It proved without the shadow of a doubt that having more than 7% proteins in our nutrition.
Where is
derived-
David Norton when we need him? He would say, I disagree with that, Luis.
So I recommend reading the China study, and it showed without a shadow of a doubt that eating more than 7% animal proteins increases our chances of disease. And we're talking about all the metabolic diseases and cancer, which I believe are related by X amount of fold or whatever. So between the Ornish study and the China study, I went like, okay, I'm going vegan.
That's all fake news. That's what David would say. It's all fake news because look, in my experience, I've eaten tons of meat all my life, and look, I'm still alive. And then look at the Eskimos. They can only eat meat because that's all there is. There's no way to grow fruits and vegetables. They can only eat go kill what do they eat?
Seal.
They might eat kill a seal. They might eat kill a deer or what, a elk or
caribou. Not too many of those up there, but really seals. Their main diet is seals.
I think that, you know, the way to handle meat is to say the only meat which is acceptable for eating is politician.
And lawyers. Politicians, which are lawyers.
That's a good one, Mike.
Yeah.
David would say, I disagree with that. I think only half of the politicians, are the left side only.
Everybody's maligning David, however subtly, but have you heard from him? Have you people made peace with each other? Has the peace of the Buddha descended upon your group again?
I got an email from him saying that he's probably not coming back because he felt like he was being oppressed, like or somehow ganged up on, and there's like censored. He's being censored.
That's too bad.
Well,
it sounded like
come censor people right back.
It sounded like Luis was saying that Trump had said fight to the death, but that's kind of harsh. He did say fight, but I don't think he combined fight.
I think it was pretty clear that Luis misquoted the president of the United States, but he's entitled to, as a solipsistic PhD. he can quote anybody he wants and say anything he likes because he's the blessings of the Buddha, and he's a vegetarian.
My English is not that good, but what I thought I understood when I listened to the POTUS in his black coat and his black gloves saying, guys, go out there and make yourselves heard and take the election back, meaning that contest the election by any means. I mean, I think I understood that very clearly. This guy was inciting a mob.
Or we'll never stop fighting or something like that.
And that's what I told David. Listen, I'm not going to mince the words. We can replay the tape if you want. We can find it. I'm sure we can find the tape.
Okay, I think it's pretty clear that you're backpedaling now, but that's fine. That's fine. Politicians do that all the
polemics.
Time.
Is that called polemics?
So we do not agree that it was inciting to violence?
I certainly don't, because I don't even know what he said factually.
I listened to the guy very clearly, that's why I understood.
In law, that's called hearsay.
I'm not a lawyer. I just heard the guy. I heard the guy.
Yeah, I understand. And I hear voices all the time. Oh, look, the God of the Hebrews says it's Purim. Oh,
no, this one was
I must read a specific book now. And I have to eat tri-cornered cakes.
That one was
I heard it. I saw it.
live TV, not edited, not commented, nothing. It was from the guy himself. I was looking at him, listening to him, and I was thinking, this guy is asking for trouble. He's asking for people to go out there and make mischief. And that's what they did. That's what they did. He incited them to go out there and create trouble. And that's what happened.
Okay, well, I think we
But
can.
that's my interpretation.
Since you don't have the video available now or ever,
I will
we can
find
only
it.
assume that you misheard, because now, like today in Toronto, it's raining and the wind is against the window, and I was watching the TV, and maybe some of the sounds got commingled, and the noise of the rain sounded like Trump is on the TV. The word fight was there, and the chatter of the rain on the window sounded like to the death. So
Yeah, listen,
but
I'm gonna.
when you replay the video, I'll be able to see the video with my own eyes, and we'll decide whether you're just being polemical or
I will
whether
find the video.
whether you're a true vegetarian.
I call myself a 90, I would say 95% vegan, something like that. Every so often, my wife will do some fish or add some tuna to a casserole, stuff like that. But 95% pretty strong.
Do you take vitamin B12 with your diet?
Yes. Yes. Although there's another thing that is bulls and cows don't, in nature, gazelles and all herbivores, they eat grass. They get their B12 from the bacteria that they ingest with the grass that they eat. And then the body creates the B12 through a symbiosis with bacteria in the gut. So basically, we have the ability to create enough B12, but because we've become so OCD in cleaning our stuff, we don't ingest enough bacteria, and then we are short in producing the B12, just like we are short in producing D3 because we don't take enough sun. But yes, I do take B12 as an insurance policy. I take a multivitamin every day, and just to make sure.
Well, so there's on the Korea front, there's no movement on either side in negotiation with the country of Norton to admit him back to the Union of philosophers, or
Wait a minute. Nobody pushed him out to begin with.
well, yes.
No, nobody pushed him out. He just took a comment that I made regarding Trump inciting to violence as an insult somehow. I don't know. We always agree to disagree in here. When he says, "Hey, that's your view," and I say, "Yes, that's my view," I'm not trying to push it on anybody. I just share my thoughts. Nobody pushed him out of here to begin with. He left.
Okay,
and then he never came back. But that's his prerogative. The forum is, this is not my forum. This is Jairo's forum. And number one. Number two, we come in, because
you're starting to sound like more like delicious meat for Mike the more you talk.
I am. Listen, I like David. I compassionately like David. I have nothing, I understand he has strong political views, that's for sure. But that there's no reason for us to be at odds. Nobody cussed him out of here. He left on rather abruptly on his own accord. And he can come back anytime he wants, I'm sure. Jairo, I'm not here. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm just a participant
I hope he comes
here.
Back.
And I, as a matter of fact, I made a point of saying this in the last Zoom meeting. He's always welcome here. He's a lovely person, and we should not let political disagreements get in between human beings. I don't see the issue.
I found Trump's speech. It lasted 70 minutes. And he
Thank you.
mentioned that people would be marching to the Capitol to protest peacefully. So out of those 70 minutes, they took a snippet of it and put it on news. And then we saw it and he get, oh my gosh, this guy is outrageous.
I am gonna, because you can make a very beautiful speech of 1 hour and then in 3 minutes say go ahead and kill him, but what I saw myself was a short 3 minute it was there. I saw the whole thing, but in that time, in that moment, he was really inciting to.
Okay, so we're getting closer to some objective facts, or what a philosopher would call a phenomena. There is a 70-minute clip which Jairo has located, and Luis is proclaiming that within that 70 minutes, there are 3 minutes
that he saw.
Sorry?
He only saw 3 minutes, right? You didn't see the whole
fine, but
70 minutes.
But I'm assuming, and I correct me if I'm wrong in my assumption, that within that 70-minute time slip, there would be 180 seconds that would incite whatever it incited. So all we have to do is have Luis tell us where to start watching the 70 minutes. Is it at minute 64?
I'll find it. I'll find it for you.
Because I'd be interested to see it. This is the one thing everybody goes wild about in the United States.
Yes.
I say, okay, let me see it. If I were a judge on the bench, I'd say, what is the evidence?
Yeah.
That would be evidence as opposed to hearsay.
Yes, and this is what I was saying when David left. I heard the guy, unedited, not commented, nothing. I was looking at the guy.
You quoted him and saying, "Fight to the death," but I never heard him say, "Fight and death together."
I never heard him say anything because I haven't paid that much attention.
Right. I tell you what, I will go through this exercise. I will transcribe myself so I can show you the video. And basically my point with this guy that I said I was not going to mention the name ever again, but since this guy Trump throughout the course of his public life obviously is a guy that is pushy, very self-involved, very forceful, typically despondent of other people. This is not a bridge maker. This is a German tank.
Biden and Obama and actually anybody Democrat would be, a bridge maker, a peacemaker, intelligent.
Well, they're not any better.
They'd have better hair. They'd be racially tolerant. And they would have better tax policies. And God would be in the heaven, and we'd have more vegetarians, and just basically everything good would happen. I completely understand that as a Canadian.
But I'm not candid to the danger of those guys either. I'm not a fool. I understand things. So the form is completely different. So on one side you have a guy that's totally toxic. The other guys are like a poison that kills you quietly. A poison that kills you quietly instead of a gun that splatters your blood over the wall. So different forms of political aesthetics. But in the ethics, I consider them all the same capitalistic liberals that where the money makes the law. It's all about the buck. There's no humanism. There's no real freedom, building education, humanism, social justice, et cetera, et cetera. So they are the same dogs with different colors. One is spiky, the other one is just poisonous. So I'm no fool to the basis of the politics, but I am very cognizant also of the differences. And one thing that is very dangerous, is the incitement to civil unrest, violence, and
But you
the
saw
toxicity.
that. But you saw that in 3 minutes.
No,
Let me
I said
put
no.
in
No.
a
I've
small-
seen that throughout.
That wouldn't be an indication of a proclivity to want to believe
Right.
something.
But no.
Let-
The point is,
70 minutes, and
No.
because 3
Yeah.
minutes, if it exists,
yeah.
would be
let
enough to
me
prove all that.
interpolate
You know, in one
Let
thing
me
that I need to add,
interpolate.
because
Oh,
A
let Mike
small
speak.
go
point.
ahead, Mike.
If you're going to look at something like a Trump speech and comb it for evidence as to what sort of reaction he was looking for, it is a mistake, I think, to simply look at statements like you must act peacefully or you must act aggressively. This is not, when something is being communicated in a speech of this sort, it is not merely the clear statements which are of importance. What is extremely important is whether or not there are statements in there which are designed to whip up emotion in some direction or another.
Or another.
This is very much, like the setting in a company where the boss wants some employee to do something which is totally illegal. And he calls him in and talks to him very sternly and never tells him to do anything.
To do something illegal.
But he tells him what the situation is. And then
And
he
do
says, you're not a company player, and your
Right.
position in this company depends on whether or not you are a company player.
It's clear. It's clear, Mike. It's clear.
Okay.
This 3 minutes, I see Trump, or I've seen Trump as much as anybody else has seen Trump. He's been on TV forever. And throughout his appearances, he has come out, to me at least, and this is my opinion, as a bully, a thug,
What?
a toxic person. And whether I agree or not with some of the policies that he instituted, as a matter of fact, I could have written the discourse when he became president. I could have written that myself. It was so
I
well written.
disagree.
But it's just on the form.
I
He
think
was
that's fake news.
a lousy
You've
public.
been watching CNN too much.
Whatever
You
you
should
want to
watch
say.
Fox News.
You know,
Because he doesn't appear to be a bully on Fox News. He talks very nicely with Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity loves him.
If I'm Zen in my life, it would be weird that I would not be Zen in my politics.
And David Norton, he would say Trump never bullied him.
Well, I rest my case on this one. How about that?
Well, he might grab certain people's asses of the female gender and things like that, but that's not bullying.
No, there's a worse word for that.
So, Mike, have you gotten your vaccines down there in Florida yet?
We're slowly making progress. I managed to get my first shot just a week ago.
Good.
So I feel quite fortunate.
Well, guys.
So you get the next one in 2 or 3 weeks?
Or another week?
In about 3 weeks.
I have turned into a pumpkin about 30 minutes ago.
It's past your bedtime.
Yes.
Lisa's got to go.
Always a pleasure spending time with you guys. We'll see you next Saturday, hopefully.
We're getting closer to the phenomenon, so we must find the video clip and find the minute number. Once we get it reduced to a number, I think we are making progress.
Well, if you want to continue,
the number is 0 or 1, then
if it is
they're the
important
same.
to you to see the 3 minutes or other instances, I'm sure there are thousands of them.
Well, if you want to expand
could
the
submit
scope
it
of
to
the
court.
evidence you intend to bring to the court of public opinion, I have no
Yeah.
objection. But let's start with the first piece of evidence which
Okay.
led to the offense of Brother David.
Okay. I will go ahead and find it, and I will submit it. And after that, I probably will stop
look
talking
for
about
it
this subject matter. Now it's just a piece of history. All we can do is look back and see what happened and how it happened, and try to avoid the same mistakes.
He might come back in 2024.
I was talking to a lady in Barcelona, a Spanish lady. She's a writer, and we communicate through LinkedIn and WhatsApp, and she wants the independence of Catalonia from Spain. She's a secessionist, and she is really entrenched on that, and you can see that she is mad. She is angry, historically angry, emotionally disturbed, and she has blood in her eyes. And I was telling her, I said, listen, I don't know what Catalonia would gain from being its own little country there. Talked between Spain and France and Andorra. I don't know how Europe would just go ahead and look at that and say, oh, now we need another member of the European Union. Would they Katulexic, like the Brexit? I mean, I was talking to her like, listen, I just don't see I don't see it. Yes, there's a lot of bad blood. She keeps going back to the Spanish Civil War. Hell, she goes back all the way to the Middle Ages. Apparently, some king just battered the Catalonians and took their. I mean, once you have that spirit of anger, it's tough to get it out of your system.
Is Catalan where Barcelona is?
Yes.
Oh, and I didn't know. Barcelona is in Catalonia?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah, that's the big city there. That's the big capital of Catalonia.
Oh, I didn't understand that.
In any case, I told her that my views of politics, just like my views of life, are nonviolent. They're non-dual and non-violent. I mean, I don't conceive breaking windows being a good part of politics. And she said, "But we need to protest." And I said, "Yes, we need to protect dialectically."
India become independent non-violently from
That's
the British
right.
Empire?
Non-violence, civil disobedience, yes, but no civil violence. So that's my take. Anything that smells of fighting, fist fighting, baseball bats, shooting each other, it's not in my dictionary. I'd rather walk away. I'd rather walk away and hide in a desert when it's only me and the Beatles.
David Norton would disagree with that. He would
possibly, say I don't know.
That the people who incited in January 6th were others.
I am not part of that group of people. I just don't break windows to
Antifa
get my political 2 cents through. I eschew and shun violence, discord, even verbal violence. I eschew meaning violence. Many times you can be violent without talking about violence. I eschew people and I avoid and shun people that are toxic, that you can see that all they want is to criticize, to hurt, to destroy instead of creating and building a humanistic society. That's me. So, unfortunately, there are many politicians like that, some of them more overt, some less overt. It's not me. And I just call it as it is because some people seem to be blind to the fact that some people want to create civil unrest and violence. And under the guise of, let's get our free note back and stuff like that. So
What do you
I
think,
believe in
Joel?
nonviolence.
What do you believe in, Joel?
I believe in God, love, and rock and roll music, but
All right.
not necessarily in that order.
And what about sex?
I'm too old for that now. But at a younger age, it was pretty important.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, guys. Always a pleasure. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Saturday.
Well, we learned that 0 is not necessarily 1.
I'm going to take off now too.
Okay, Mike.
Oh, there's 2.
That's it.
You guys, take care.
You too,
Thank
Mike.
you, Mike.
Good
Thank you,
seeing
Luis.
All right, thank
Always
you,
a-
guys.
You got your vaccine.
Always a pleasure. Always a pain.
Same here.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Take care, guys.
Pleasure. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for coming. Now it's Joel, but you can call him Joe. What do you think, Joel?
About what? I think you sound like you're breathing a lot better.
Ah,
Can you use that little pressure machine and not cough now?
oh. Exhale. Inhale. Whoa. How high did I go?
I can't.
Wow, I went to 2,000.
Good man.
I couldn't get past 1,000 without coughing. I went all the way up to 2,000 with him. Wow.
And you're not coughing. That's good. Well, I'm glad to see you're recovered. And I hope you're going to stay safe now. When do you get a vaccine?
That's interesting. They told me I could wait 90 days and then get the vaccine. No, so that's kind of an advantage, because here in Florida, they're only giving them out to 65 and older, and people in the front lines, and who knows what other people. So
they're starting to give them out to people 80 and older.
Wow.
Yeah. And they don't even have enough for all of those yet. So we're really behind.
Oh, because they're not able to get from either Pfizer or Moderna. What about Johnson and Johnson?
Yeah, I think they're going to start approving that.
Trying to what blocked them from getting it? Because the U.S. wanted the what was coming out first.
Yeah, for sure.
They cornered the market.
Well, they have the factories inside the country, and they don't allow export even to their best friend and buddy and trading partner. They said, "Oh yeah, we love
nice.
We love you, Canadians, but go get your vaccines from Europe."
Oh, that's cruel.
Well, listen, what happens when you need something for yourself and your neighbor needs something also.
Wow.
Maybe that's the character of the nation.
Wow.
I don't know. Anyway,
and who in Europe is making them?
Pfizer, the same company. They have a factory in Belgium
that is not able to output as fast, or they're giving it to other European countries. So you're last in line.
Well, there was an issue about that as well, whether we were even going to get the ones we're supposed to, because Europe was going to put a ban on exports until they had all been vaccinated. So,
Wow.
you know what they say, God bless the child that's got his own.
Wow. So, well, there's always getting the virus and
And hoping,
hoping you don't have too many symptoms and overcome it. My mother is 98 years old and she got it and she just uh, mm, was tired and didn't want to eat. And then after 2 weeks, it was okay, I guess. She didn't have to go to the hospital.
good for
And
her.
I did. And her caregiver also got it at the same time. Maybe I give it to them, or maybe they give it to me.
Yeah,
And
nobody
I don't know.
knows.
And maybe we got it as early as December 18th. Wow. Because my sister said they were showing symptoms as early as December 25th or yeah, because we went to a Christmas party December 24th and the following day they were showing some symptoms, but it couldn't have been from the party. It couldn't have happened so quick from going to a party. They say it takes 8 days. If you catch it, it takes 8 days and then the symptoms show. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. Nobody knows.
And
Anyway,
then
I feel sorry that David doesn't come. And I guess you guys have been meeting together for a long time.
yes, for since maybe the middle of last year, there were some good meetups. There was a meetup August 29th or so. That was pretty good. That they had yeah, there was a good conversation between David and Luis. They were talking about words like the definition of a priori and the definition of preposition. And then later on, Justin Shinryu from England showed up and had good conversation with David on the pandemic and on whether it was good to have universal health care like it is in England versus the way it is here. I guess there was some disagreement there. hmm. Wow.
Have you heard from Justin at all?
And Justin hasn't showed up either. Maybe he got fed up with Luis also.
Or me? Yeah. I don't know.
I think it was Luis was maybe he said that Luis was saying the same old things. Maybe it's the 0 and 1 thing. I don't know. 1 is 0 and 0 is 1. I don't know. Well, that's what one of them said. This guy that came that came a few times that wanted to learn something about Buddhism, I guess. But he keep hearing zeros is 1 and 1 is 0. So he left. Or he got tired of it. I don't know.
It's hard to develop a format that, people can fit into without offending each other. Anyway, I'm going to go and listen to what the Minnesota Futurists have to say. See what they've got on the agenda for today.
And I'm going to go to, oh, I have a Zoom meeting from 9 to 12, I think it is. And another one overlapping. So I may have to set up this one for one Zoom meeting and another computer for the other Zoom meeting.
You're
And
getting like me. You're
have-
multi-zooming.
have one computer record the shorter one. For viewing
What
later.
goes on? What goes on for 3 hours?
Something on like a workshop that's supposed to be an introduction to Tantra, to Buddhist Tantra
Oh,
from the Tibetan Buddhism.
okay. I'd better let you go get ready. You've only got 10 minutes and I got to put the coffee on. So you keep well, Jairo, and we will see you when we see you. If you come back to the humanist group or go to the futurist group or maybe here in a week.
Okay.
Tell David
Have a
I was
good day.
asking. Tell David I was asking about him. Whether I agree with his opinions or not, I still like to see him.
Do I have your email?
Yeah,
I forget it. What's your email?
you can. I'll put it in. I'll send it to you on Meetup. Otherwise, this
Okay.
might get broadcast all over the world.
Oh, that's right. And you'd get junk email.
Yeah, I get that anyway, but I don't need any more of it. Okay,
All
I'm
right.
gonna head out, Jairo. You take care.
Thanks for coming.
Keep exercising your lungs. And let's see what the 3 minutes actually say. Let's
Find
hold Luis's feet to the
it.
fire.
Yeah, you can.
See what
You
it
can
really
click
said.
on. If you click on that link, it should open a browser and you can listen to it.
Well,
Maybe
I want to
listen
see.
somewhere in the middle.
He said, "Fight to the death for 3 minutes." Let's find out. Let's see it with
Yeah,
our own eyes.
it's at the Wall Street Journal. The video, Trump full speech at DC rally. Yeah,
Okay.
click on that link and it'll open a browser and you can listen to it.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Have a good weekend.
Bye. Wow. So that's the end of this delightful meeting of the minds. It was all right. So I took a while to get set up. I worked on wow, I forgot about my cup of water. Yeah, my phone. I had a hard time. Let's see if my phone is charged up. Hopefully it's charged up a good percentage. Maybe I had it plugged in for 30, 40 minutes. It's taking a while to boot up. Maybe it didn't charge well. Maybe I didn't have it. Oh yeah, it wasn't plugged in, so it didn't get charged at all. That sucks. I'm gonna plug it in here. I may need it. Shoot, some people might be calling me. But I guess I could. So yeah, we miss David Norton. Hope he enjoys this meeting. I was trying to talk for David, but I was exaggerating. Hope he doesn't mind. He might not like what I said, or it was stereotypical, or it made a lot of assumptions. So it might be insulting. So if I insulted David, I send out a plea of forgiveness, and it was only making fun. I guess I made some assumptions that it would be funny. So I find it more and more that I'm less and less funny. I guess I should go to my meeting, my next meeting. I was gonna play with this light. So increase the light? Well, I guess because there's so much sunlight outside, it doesn't matter, so I could turn it off. So the sunlight from outside is pretty strong. I think this worked, right? Maybe it's off. Oh, this mouse isn't charging. There it is. It's charging. This phone is charging. Okay, so hope somebody likes something of this meeting. It wasn't a stellar meeting. It was okay. It wasn't that good because David wasn't here. Rami wasn't here. It was mostly Luis Del Pino and I, and I'm glad Mike was here, and I'm glad Joel showed up at the second half. Well, for 30 minutes. Well, he showed up around 8 something, right? Okay, but he brought us to attend the political sides of it. The first part was I guess about the mind, consciousness, and reality. And the second part, when Joel showed up, was the political side and why did David Norton decide to give up on us, or he left us in the middle of a meeting because he got offended. I guess from what Luis said about Trump in the rally at DC on January 6th. It sounded like, or he assumed that Trump said, fight to the fight to the death. I think he maybe said fight to the finish or something. I'll have to find what Trump really said. But then David said, that's not what he said. But then after a while, he left. While Luis Del Pino was saying what he believed about what he saw that day. Okay, anyway, that's all divisive politics. So let's end this session episode. I don't know if I should edit this down a bit or just send it like this. Maybe I'll edit it down a bit. Well, thank you again, kind mothers, friends, and enemies for stopping by to listen to this podcast and video, both on YouTube and on anchor.fm. Wake up and think clearly. On YouTube, it's wake up and the letter N, think clearly. Wake up and think clearly. Okay, bye.